Once upon a time, in a land far, far away, there lived a queen.
But not just any queen. This was the wicked queen, known to many as the evil stepmother of Snow White. Her tale, however, is not one of inherent evil, but a story of love, loss, and transformation. Today, we delve into the heart-wrenching tale told in Serena Valentino's Fairest of All, a tale of the wicked queen.
Welcome to my channel.
If you enjoy captivating stories, please like and subscribe for more amazing content. Let's dive into today's video.
Spoiler alert. This video contains spoilers for Fairest of All, a tale of the wicked queen, by Serena Valentino. Our story begins with a young woman who would become the queen. She was not always wicked. In fact, she was once kind, loving, and full of hope. However, her childhood was far from idyllic.
Her mother died in childbirth, and her father, devastated by the loss, blamed her for it. Desperate to have a child, her father made a deal with the Odd Sisters. His wife was barren, and he promised the Odd Sisters his soul after he died if they allowed his wife to become pregnant.
The deal succeeded, and his wife gave birth to a daughter.
But she died during childbirth, leaving the father filled with hatred for his newborn daughter. His last words to her on his deathbed were, "I hate you."
This deal marked the beginning of her tragic journey.
Years passed, and the young woman blossomed into a beautiful and kind-hearted lady. She eventually met and fell in love with a benevolent king. Their marriage was one of true love and happiness, bringing light into her otherwise dark world. The queen became the stepmother of Snow White, whom she affectionately called Little Bird, and initially cared for deeply.
Life in the castle was filled with joy and laughter.
The queen adored Snow White and treated her as her own daughter. The king and queen shared a deep bond, and their love for each other and Snow White created a harmonious family life. They spent their days in the gardens, reading stories, and exploring the kingdom together. However, this happiness was not to last. The king went off to war and tragically died in battle. The queen watched it all unfold through the enchanted mirror but refused to accept his death until official word arrived.
The news shattered her soul like glass.
This devastating blow left her heartbroken and alone to rule the kingdom and raise Snow White.
In her grief, she turned to the enchanted mirror, a gift from her husband.
This was no ordinary mirror. It was the last one crafted by her father before his death and enchanted by the Odd Sisters. The mirror possessed a dark, ominous presence, whispering to the queen, playing on her fears and insecurities. The queen's father, even in life, was a cruel and abusive man. His harsh words and constant belittling left deep scars on her heart. His presence in the mirror continued to torment her, manipulating her thoughts and feeding her fears.
As time passed, the queen grew more and more obsessed with her own beauty, spurred on by the mirror's manipulations. It fed her fears of aging and losing her beauty, convincing her that her worth was tied to her appearance. The mirror's whispers twisted her love for Snow White into jealousy and resentment. The once loving and gentle queen began to change. She became cold, distant, and cruel, especially towards Snow White, whose beauty and innocence reminded her of her own lost youth. The mirror had taken hold of her heart, turning it to stone. But the mirror was not the only force at play. Enter the Odd Sisters, three enigmatic witches who reveled in chaos and manipulation. They saw the queen as a pawn in their grander schemes and used their dark magic to deepen her descent into madness. The Odd Sisters whispered to the queen, exploiting her insecurities and amplifying her fears. They delighted in the turmoil they created, pushing her further into the darkness. Blinded by jealousy and fear, the queen ordered the huntsman to take Snow White into the forest and kill her, bringing back her heart as proof. But the huntsman, moved by Snow White's innocence, could not carry out the dreadful deed and instead let her go, presenting a false heart to the queen. Believing Snow White to be dead, The queen was momentarily satisfied, but her heart was still not at peace. The mirror, ever manipulative, continued to stoke her fears and insecurities.
When the queen discovered that Snow White was still alive, hiding with the 7 dwarfs, her rage knew no bounds.
She concocted a series of wicked plans to end Snow White's life once and for all.
The odd sisters provided her with a potion kit and books, which she used to create the poisoned apple. Disguised as an old hag, the queen tricked Snow White into eating the poisoned apple, sending her into a deep, death-like sleep.
The queen never returned to the castle. The dwarfs caught her watching as Snow White
Took the bite from the apple and then pursued her. The wicked queen, consumed by her own hatred and the mirror's lies, ultimately met her end in a moment of tragic clarity. After being discovered by the dwarfs as she fled, she reached a split road. The odd sisters appeared, suggesting she take the path into the forest where they would help her escape. But the queen's dark heart melted for a moment, and she chose to accept her punishment.
She ran down the road that led to her falling off a cliff, meeting her demise.
After Snow White's wedding, she received a mysterious gift.
To her surprise, it was her stepmother's enchanted mirror. As she pulled the mirror in front of her, the image of her young stepmother appeared, calling her by the old nickname, Little Bird.
This haunting reminder of her past hinted that the queen's spirit still lingered, forever tied to the mirror. Serena Valentino's Fairest of All paints a poignant picture of a woman whose heart was turned to darkness by grief, fear, and external influences, reminding us that even the most wicked of villains have a story worth telling.
Thank you for joining us on this journey into the heart of the Wicked Queen.
If you enjoyed this tale and wish to hear more stories of Disney's most iconic villains, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell.
And if you were intrigued by this summary,
be sure to read Fairest of All by Serena Valentino for the full, captivating story. Until next time, remember, every story has 2 sides, and even villains were once dreamers.